This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Cleveland Payne. In the queue today, 10 stories from the past weekend that you vetted as conversational, covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. We have in the queue today great stories with great people, some great people. We do talk Elon Musk, we do talk some Kanye West, we do have stuff on JD Vance. So your mileage may vary on how great the people are, but we have those stories on them, plus 7 other stories to round out the 10 stories. Today is Monday. We do extra stories for the Monday because the weekend has 3 full days. We'll explain all that part in the full vetting process when we get to the teaser section, transitioning out of the news and into the teaser news, the forward news, if you will. But remind you right now that our website home is a conversationproject.com. And if you go there, you can see more details about us and understand what we're doing. Any questions that basically will come up, kind of random questions, may be answered there. If you don't get an answer, email me at the conversation inbox at gmail.com and we'll answer anything else directly to you. Also tell us exactly what we're doing well and, of course, not so well going forward. Today is Monday, the 17th of February, 2025. And on this day, we have 10 stories, as already stated. No particular order except for the narrative that's going to be taught. We think it flows this way. And as we said, over many stories of the weekend, about 90 or so stories we had a chance to pick from, we had a chance to basically take the top 30. And we think these 10 work out better-ish for this one. You can comment as you want to on that actual finding. We're going to start off hot this morning. Start off with story number 1, where thousands of federal health agency workers were laid off by a letter happening over the weekend. So this past weekend, as the firings continue, about 3,600 probationary employees from the Department of Health and Human Services, which was just had its new leader selected or confirmed by the Congress, were laid off. These layoffs affected staff across basically all agencies, various places, including the CDC, FDA, and CMS. So various things under Health and Human Services all lost people, which is why the number is so high. Noticeably, the CDC saw about 1,300 employees dismissed, while the National Institute of Health, NIH, had about 1,165 staff members laid off. These were people that, of course, part of a broader initiative to reduce the federal workforce. Over 9,500 employees dismissed across multiple departments so far, and more to come, because ones who didn't take the payoffs or the buyouts, or what do you want to call them, are still being fired anyway. And some of those, the actual payoffs or buyouts, whatever, still a little sketchy. Now, the layoffs have raised significant concerns over potential weakening of public health programs. Experts warn that reducing staff in critical areas could impair the nation's ability to respond to health threats, such as the ongoing H5N1 avian influenza outbreak. The USDA's National Animal Health Laboratory Network, essential for coordinating responses for such outbreaks, experienced a 25% reduction in staff for the weekend, which may hinder effective management of the crisis. Officials from the Trump administration assert that these layoffs were strategically planned to protect the core functions with health agencies. They emphasize that critical roles, including CDC and FDA scientists, frontline healthcare workers, and Medicare employees, were spared to maintain essential services. Administration aims to cut costs and reduce the bureaucracy, projecting the annual savings of $600 million from HHS alone to offset the trillions of dollars they eventually want to find across the government. Now, despite the assurances from the administration, lawmakers and health experts are criticizing the mass firings. They argue that the abrupt reductions could disrupt vital services and demoralize the remaining workforce. The process has been described as chaotic and indiscriminate, with reports of essential roles being affected. Additionally, the layoffs have led to feelings of betrayal among federal employees, especially those dismissed just before completing their probationary periods, which would have granted them higher job protections. These layoffs are part of a wider effort, as we said, by the Trump administration, to reduce the size of the federal government. And in total, over 9,500 federal employees have been dismissed so far, primarily targeting those on probationary periods, the ones without protections that you can cut easily. They are over various departments: energy, interior, veterans affairs, agriculture. Basically, they run the gamut. Critics are contending that these measures prioritize cost cutting over effective delivery of essential public services and would jeopardize the nation's health and safety. Now, as we said pretty staunchly, the main target, the easy target, the front target are people on probationary statuses, people who can be fired, without cause because they're on probation. They don't reach that status, so they don't have protections. However, the numbers of people that they're dismissing right now don't actually reach up to the numbers that leave on attrition anyway. These are essentially people who would be coming in to fill the gaps for people already leaving. And what it looks like for people who are actually taking out the buyout were folks who were already leaving anyway. So no actual extra cuts are being done. We're just cutting away from the new blood coming in, as opposed to cutting away actual waste, fraud, abuse. Vice President J.D. Vance condemned Europe and their censorship as Soviet style at the Munich Security Conference last weekend. At the conference, J.D. Vance delivered a forceful critique of the European nations, accusing them of adopting a Soviet-style censorship practices. He argued that internal suppression of free speech poses a greater threat to European democracy than external adversaries like Russia or China. He literally opened with that line. Vance highlighted the incidents such as Germany's legal actions against anti-feminist remarks and Sweden's conviction of a Christian activist, suggesting that these actions undermine fundamental democratic values. In a move that sparked further debate, Vance met with Alice Wilder, a leader of a German's far-right Alternative for Deutschland party, the AfD party, and this meeting broke a long-standing diplomatic norm that was seen by many in the U.S. as interference in European domestic policies. German officials, including Chancellor Olaf Scholz, condemned the meeting, emphasizing their commitment to excluding extremist parties from the governance. European leaders are responding with viable discomfort and criticism. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius altered his planned speech to address Vance's remarks, defending Europeans' approach to free speech and political inclusion. The incident has actually intensified discussions about the future of transatlantic relations with the U.S. and the deeper ideological divide that's happening right now between Europe and us, U.S. The speech also ignited a debate within the United States, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio defended Vance's positions, asserting that the open dialogue is essential to democracies. However, some media officials like Margaret Brennan from CNS, who you may not like as well, challenged that actual view and challenged him on that view, suggesting that the unchecked free speech has historically been weaponized to dangerous ends, referencing events leading up to the Holocaust. This exchange highlighted a complex disclosure in surrounding free speech and its limits. Vance's address and actions at the conference have introduced a new tension in the U.S. relations with Europe. By openly criticizing European policies and engaging in far-right political figures, the U.S. administration appears to be signaling a shift towards a more confrontational and ideological-driven foreign policy. This development raises questions about the future of traditional alliances and shared values for long-term underpinnings from the transatlantic cooperation. This breaks down to, we're not seeing our friends the way we used to. Maybe it's not an actual breakup, but we will be hanging out a whole lot less. On February 15th, Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages, Alexander Sasha Trafo, Sagu Deki Chun, and Liar Horn. E.R. Horn, sorry about that, I was an L. The release was part of the ceasefire agreement involving the exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners. The hostages were handed over to the Red Cross in Khan Yunis and have since been reunited with their families in Tel Aviv. The current ceasefire, which began in January, includes provisions for exchanges of hostages held by Hamas for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli custody. The latest exchange, Israel released 369 Palestinian prisoners in return for the 3 hostages. Yes, this number is not quite a match, but that's the way the ceasefire works. This is the 6th such exchange in the ceasefire commencement. Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio have issued stern warnings to Hamas, stating their severe actions will be taken if all remaining hostages are not released. Netanyahu has emphasized that the gates of hell will be opened should Hamas fail to comply, indicating potential military action in Gaza. U.S. has pledged to support Israel in the stance, and of course, Donald Trump said last weekend that if all hostages were released on Saturday, he said basically all hell would break loose. Not all hostages are being released. They're still working towards the ceasefire agreement, 300 essentially, but it's working its way down, going towards the end. Despite the ongoing ceasefire, the tensions still remain high, with recent incidents such as Israeli airstrikes resulting in the death of 3 Palestinian police officers in Gaza have been viewed by Palestinian authorities as violations as the truths. Both sides have accused each other of breaches, complicating efforts to maintain stability and continue the negotiations. Taking a trip to New York City, and the Trump administration which is an odd combination, but it is what it is. We'll get back to that in a bit. But right now, we know that the seventh prosecutor in the Eric Adams case resigned, also criticized Trump's former lawyer because of, well, let's just read this. Hagen Skoton, the lead prosecutor in the federal corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, resigned, becoming the seventh prosecutor to do so. Skoton's resignation follows the Department of Justice directive to dismiss charges against Adams, a move he vehemently opposes. In his resignation letter, Skoton describes the DOJ's decision as a serious mistake, to quote, that undermines the integrity of the justice system. He criticized the department's, quote, dismissal with leverage, unquote, tactic, which he believes improperly uses legal charges to coerce political compliance. Skoton emphasized that participating in such actions would be compromising his professional ethics, stating, quote, it was never going to be me. Now, what's that mean? He pretty much detailed in his letter that eventually the Trump administration will find somebody dumb enough to do this. Someone eventually will essentially sign off on the action. They will do that because they're going to fall in line. It just wasn't going to be this guy. So that's what's happening. It actually began when acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove instructed federal prosecutors to drop the bribery and corruption charges against the mayor. Bove argued that the prosecution had hindered Adams' ability to govern effectively. Essentially, he can't help Donald Trump and the Trump administration work on immigration issues if he has this little indictment thing over his head. He expressed concerns the case would interfere with his upcoming reelection campaign as well. As said, 6 senior Justice Department officials in line, including Manhattan's top federal prosecutor, Daniel Sassoon, all resigned in protest. This is how things are done in real life. When someone does something you don't like and you want to make that word happen, you resign. You fall on your sword. You bleed for your country. Patriots actually bleed, if you will. Basically saying it's a quid pro quo, getting Adams off the hook so that he can do more Trump's bidding. Your thoughts, your mileage definitely varies on this case. This case right here, this issue right here, is pure engagement of fantasy. It's basically us being entertained and us being trolls, if you will, on one of the biggest trolls in the world. There was some small, minor coverage of this, but for the most part, it went unnoticed with all the actual big things happening, things on fire, literally this in the world. But past weekend, conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair publicly claimed that she gave birth to Elon Musk's third child about 5 months ago. In an interview, she described the relationship as beginning with online interactions, leading to an in-person meeting and subsequent pregnancy. That's a word. She alleges that Musk requested the child's existence be kept confidential for safety reasons, resulting in her living in isolation during her pregnancy. St. Clair decided to reveal the birth due to media pressure and threats from Musk's supporters. Musk's team has not responded to the claims. There's been no communication between the two since the public disclosure. And the only thing we know that's been any sort of family relations in this is that Musk's estranged daughter put out something on her social media saying she found out she had another sibling via social media and this person here. Despite the challenges, St. Clair expressed happiness with her son and desire to provide him with normal life, despite being the son of Elon Musk and all the crazies going on with that one. She has chosen to keep her child's name private at the moment. As I said, no direct action from Musk so far. He reacted to a couple things here or there, just sort of the overarching landscape, and did a lot of things this weekend, basically saying I had a X early this morning or late yesterday on how he's so highly persecuted on the platform he owns. It is what's going on. As St. Clair stated, she kept the pregnancy secret at Musk's request, protect the child's privacy and safety. She decided to go public due to media's pressure and to prevent the tabloid speculation what's going on. She's not provided any actual evidence to support her claims and has requested the media respect her child's privacy. We sort of are. Maybe. Not really. Now, we know Musk has 12 other children. We've talked about that. We talked about it extensively when we talked about X being at the White House and doing 4-year-old things at the White House, because that's what they do. But we look like we're seeing the expansion. Elon Musk going beyond basketball team levels, beyond football team levels. I'm not sure what he's going to. Maybe he's going to fund the full both sides of the line in football at this point going forward. So thank you so much for coming in, tuning in for today. This thing here, if you're a regular, a normal if you will, normal news nerd, things are seeming a little bit longer. We're adding some things, we're doing some things, we're testing things out, and we're sort of expanding on the coverage. Already seems a little longer, so I think O is going to get me for that one. But we provide for you here at the Conversation Project fairly good news, fairly good news coverage. The news isn't always that great. And with that news coverage, you get a tiny bit of commentary based on my personal opinions and the way things kind of look to, rational people with eyeballs. That is what we have. So if you like what you're seeing, you like what you're hearing, you like the news coverage you're getting, and things that are off the beaten path, things that you really might not have heard, like the video, like the audio, if you're listening to this on a podcast later on, like the short clips to do along the way with things we have going forward. If you like the videos, I know I'm picking the right stories, giving you the right information going out there. The algorithms also think that I'm doing the right things and will share with other people who hopefully will like it as well. If you want to just take an extra step, share this with other folks who are like-minded, people who enjoy this type of news, this type of coverage, and maybe this type of commentary, maybe my face and voice as well. And if you are not getting this natively into your feeds, subscribe so you don't miss out on the action. Subscribe via whatever platform you like. We have various platforms in video and audio, and our email newsletter, which is just the words, not my face, not my voice, every single weekday for things you might have heard, and a weekend for the weekly roundup. So like, share, and subscribe so we can grow the News Nerd Nation. Back to the news, and oddly enough, back to Luigi Mangione, who is, of course, accused of fatally shooting United Healthcare CEO Bryan Thompson, who actually released his first public statement since his arrest. Now, he's done this from the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, basically via a website that was launched on his behalf by his legal team. It's intended to provide accurate case information and address the influx of public interest because everybody wants to know what's going on with the sexy guy who shot the CEO. In the note, Mangione expressed being overwhelmed by support, which he noted transcends political, racial, and class divisions. He acknowledged the numerous letters sent to him, stating that while he reads each one, he's unable to respond individually. The website also offers updates on his legal proceedings and information on his defense fund. Now, the charges he's facing, first-degree murder and terrorism, could carry the death penalty if he's convicted. His legal team has established a defense fund to support the case, which has reportedly amassed over $425,000 with more than 10,000 donors. The website serves as a central hub for case updates and will aim to dispel misinformation surrounding the incident. Significant public discourse is being highlighted, if you will, based on this case. Many individuals are expressing support for Mangione and viewing his actions as a protest against perceived injustices with the healthcare system, murdering a guy on the street. The sentiment has also been reflected in various media outlets and online platforms. Officials and public figures have condemned the violent act, emphasizing that grievances should be addressed through the lawful and nonviolent means of discourse and lawsuits, and not with silencers and going on the lam. It also leads to debates on the role of media in covering such incidents, especially concerning the promotion of defense funds and portrayal of suspects in high-profile cases. So, yes, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. We're covering this because it's conversational. People want to know details. People want to talk about this. But at the same time, we also make things more known of something that we really should not be condoning, really should not be putting out there. But it's conversational. You guys want to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're also talking about these guys right here. As the civil case against Jay-Z and Diddy, a combined one, has been dismissed after allegations of assault. The civil lawsuit accusing Sean Jay-Z Carter and Sean Diddy Combs, two different Seans, two different spellings, of sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl in 2000 have been dismissed. Plaintiff is referred to as a Jane Doe and has voluntarily withdrew the case with prejudice, preventing future refiling. That means it's done. There will be no other. It is over. This lawsuit alleges that the assault occurred during an after party following 2000 MTV Music Video Awards, where both Jay-Z and Diddy had consistently denied these allegations. Jay-Z described the dismissal of the victory as a victory, stating them as frivolous, fictitious, and appalling allegations that have been dismissed. He emphasized that the lawsuit was without merit and expressed relief for his family. Diddy's legal team echoed similar sentiments because Diddy can't speak for himself. He's behind bars, asserting that the claims were baseless and built on falsehoods. They maintained the innocence and indicated that dismissal in the first of many anticipated legal victories. He's got a whole lot of other stuff going on. And those many legal victories include Tony Busby, the attorney who is holding court as a plaintiff for many of the lawsuits, just like this one. He did not comment on this one's dismissal. The lawsuit was initially filed solely against Diddy in October 2024, later amended in December to include Jay-Z. The proceedings, both defendants maintained their innocence, with Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, highlighting that Jay-Z did not settle or pay for any compensation. Not guilty, y'all. Can you hear me? Let's move on to another guy who's dealing with legal things, and his luck isn't as good. R. Kelly's appeal rejected, may take his case to the Supreme Court. The legal challenges continue for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit recently upheld his 2021 conviction on federal racketeering and sex trafficking charges, resulting in a 30-year prison sentence. The court found substantial evidence that Kelly exploited his fame to engage in a pattern of abuse against young women and girls. Sounds kind of similar. Sounds kind of familiar. The response to this decision, Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, announced plans to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, criticized the ruling as, quote, unprecedented, and arguing that the application of racketeering laws to this context was overly broad. Development follows Supreme Court's previous refusal in October of 2024 to hear Kelly's appeal concerning the 2022 conviction in Chicago for producing child sex abuse material and enticing minors for sex. In that case, Kelly received a 20-year sentence with 19 years to be served concurrently with his New York sentence, making him eligible for release in 2045. The legal team prepares a petition for the Supreme Court regarding New York conviction, and likelihood the court agreeing to hear the case remains right now uncertain. Supreme Court accepts a small percentage of petitions for each term, and it's already declined to review his appeal in the past. The crime blotter section of today's broadcast continues as we go to Idaho, where suspected murderer Bryan Kohberger could actually go free due to DNA evidence that may dispute his being at the scene of the crime. Bryan Kohberger's defense team is contesting DNA evidence linking him to November 22nd, 2022's murders of 4 University of Idaho students. They argued that the use of Investigate Genetic Genealogy, IGG, to identify Kohberger's violated his constitutional rights. IGG involves comparing DNA from crime scenes with public genetic databases to find potential matches. The defense claims that law enforcement could not and did not obtain necessary warrants during the process, and that the FBI used an unapproved database, potentially breaching its policies. They are seeking to suppress the DNA evidence obtained through these methods. There ever was a time to do a reverse PSA on these DNA tracking things, this is right here. A recent development in the defense revealed that DNA from 2 unidentified males was found at the crime scene. One sample was discovered on a handrail inside the residence, another on a glove found outside. The presence of these unknown DNA samples suggests that possibly of alternate suspects, which the defense argues could exonerate Kohberger. However, prosecutors maintain that Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath at the scene, providing a direct link to the crime. The admissibility of DNA evidence is currently under judicial review, and the ruling in favor of the defense could significantly impact the prosecutor's case, potentially leading to a dismissal of the charges if the key evidence is excluded. Kohberger has pleaded not guilty, faces the death penalty if convicted, and his trial is scheduled to begin in August of this year, following a venue change to Boise, Idaho, due to concerns about finding an impartial jury on its original location. Our final story, which had me sort of in knots for a while, because it seemed like I actually covered it, and I did. We'll talk about it in a moment, about how teaser stories get into the mix, how you guys can manifest, if you will, these stories come into play. But this story dealing with Kanye and Bianca, and the fact that they may not be together anymore. Maybe. Possibly. It's possible. Maybe. Reports have surfaced suggesting that Kanye and Bianca Censori are separating after 2 years of marriage. Sources indicate that Censori has become increasingly distressed by West's recent controversial actions, his recent ones, not his past ones, including anti-Semitic remarks and the sale of swastikas-themed merchandise. These incidents reportedly led Censori to seek disassociation with West's behavior. Despite these claims, a representative for the couple has denied the divorce rumors, stating they plan to spend Valentine's Day together. Of course, this all happened pre-Friday for Valentine's Day. Their appearance at the 2025 Grammy Awards added to the controversy when Censori was wearing a revealing outfit that attracted significant media attention. Oh boy, did it. Following the event, West continued to share anti-Semitic messages on social media, furthering and intensifying the public scrutiny. In the midst of all these events, West shared a cryptic Instagram post defining coercion as illegal, which was deleted pretty quickly after posting it. The post followed allegations of his controlling behavior over Censori and the fallout from the Grammys appearance. Some suggest that Censori is planning to file for divorce to get a $5 million settlement, trying to work those things out, which is why we're not hearing too much about it. A couple of representatives says the rumors are unfounded, ain't gonna happen. Kanye West sneaking into here. Now the comment that got me was the reason why this is a thing is we'll talk about it literally. Well, let's go to it now. Let's talk about it right now. Moving on to the teaser part of the show. We've gotten through 10 stories, headlines for today. We'll do 8 for the rest of the week. We'll explain that in a moment. But what we give for you for the conversation, the way we pick our stories here is by literally going through the news, aggregating news from various different places and letting you give us an idea what to talk about. We put out a news story every 50 minutes or so across our various social media platforms, but we really focus on Facebook and X because it still gives us decent stats so we can see what engagement looks like. So we do that every 50 minutes or so. Look for a story on Facebook, facebook.com/thisisconversationproject, or x.com/th_conversation, and you will see all sorts of articles, all sorts of places, all sorts of sources. You may love them, you may hate them, but you get a chance to vote them up. How do you vote them up on X and on Facebook? By just simply engaging the story so we can see that you want to talk more about it, or just wanted to go away actually, but it's just something that's in your crawl you have to get to. So like it, love it, hate it, share it, comment on it, read it, please. Do what you can to engage in the story. The higher stories with engagement scores, literally the more people engage in stories, the better chance you have to talk about it. We took 30 stories from over 90 stories of the weekend, the 30 at the top, and whittled them down to the 10 stories we gave you today. Now, the story we had on Kanye and Bianca was a story we teased going into the show last Friday, which is why it seems so familiar. I was looking for comments, looking for the story, and realized, oh, someone actually comment on it in the teaser section that Bianca Censori should have thought about this divorce thing well before she actually, got naked on TV, semi-naked, kind of naked on TV. So that should have been something that should have been done, months, years ago, and not just this past weekend. Today, we're teasing a story about the rare visit and a rare stop in North Korea these days. We haven't got to them yet. I'm sure we will get very soon, where Kim Jong-un is visiting his father's grave and also pledging his devotion to the sacred struggle that is maintaining the sacred grounds of North Korea. We're going to see what's going to happen for this week as the Monday starts. As we have in a comment that come in live, the Monday start is already kind of gruesome, and this was not really Monday. This was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what's in store for us this week, we shall see, although many of us will actually see winter remixes, so that may be a big deal going forward. But for right now, we are teasing the story on Kim Jong-un visiting his father's tomb. If you want to talk more about it and what the sacred struggle is, you just simply go to our feeds on Facebook and X, and you engage in them stories and tell us what stories we're talking about, and we'll talk about them if we pick them. Now, if we pick the wrong ones per your view, just email me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com, and you can tell me which stories I should be doing more focus on. I'll do better next time. We had a story that was in the range. We didn't actually put it out there because Kanye, I guess, but on YouTube TV, coming to terms with Paramount. We are supposedly going into the weekend on YouTube TV with Paramount being dropped because it could not come to terms with the deal for Paramount, CBS, Paramount Plus, all those things on the platform. They came to a deal, all shaking hands. Everybody's getting the money they want to. That's great. So now I get a chance to actually promote YouTube TV as my actual cord cutting streaming of choice, although everything seems like it's cable these days, as to what we chose many years ago when we cut the cord for YouTube TV. Now, it is being called a game changer in live TV streaming, even though it's been on for a while. You get 100 live channels. You get ESPN, ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, and CBS on YouTube TV, plus live sports, breaking news, binge-worthy shows. Unlimited DVR storage is one of the key things on this one. Now, if it's because it's in the cloud, you click on it, you save it, it's there for you forever. You also get 6 different accounts for 6 different people, or for me, I use 3 of them for various different things to save what you need to at once. So people's DVR doesn't fill up other people's stuff. And of course, other people's shows don't get in there. I had an issue with little JJ a few years back where she'd watch all the cartoons. Now she's watching weird gothy stuff because she's a teenager. But she'd watch a bunch of cartoons, and then I'd look up and I'd see all these cartoons in my feed. Or my wife would watch a bunch of Hallmark shows, and then I'd say I have the Hallmark shows on my feed. Secret, don't tell her, I've actually DVR the Hallmark shows myself and watch them on my own. But you can save your time, save your hassle, and save your stuff on one simple monthly fee. No contracts, no hidden fees. It's all there together. And you can also add things like Max, add things like Paramount Plus, add things like the NFL Sunday Ticket, add things like NBA League Pass, those things as well to your streaming service. So you can watch on your account from anywhere, your computer, your smart TV, your phone, your tablet, anywhere you want to. It's there. It's YouTube TV is streaming CNN right now, right here, because it's there right there. It's on my phone when I'm traveling back and forth, looking at things. It's there. If you have not cut the cord yet, and there's still many people who've not make that leap yet, now's the time. Make the switch to YouTube TV and use our link. We're going to give you $75 off. We're like that. We'll give you $75 off, and we'll get a small commission because we brought you in the door. So check it out at this. It's theconversationproject.com/YouTube TV. This is theconversationproject.com/YouTube TV. Get in on a great deal for right now. $75 off your subscription right off the bat right here for YouTube TV. So let's talk about us very quickly. I know we're going very long today, so let's talk about us to get in the banter that is the Conversational Project's promotion of itself. Conversation Project lives online at this. It's conversationproject.com. And what we do there is provide for you the past episodes, past links, information about our past, and of course, the future, if you will, the money-making future. Chances to join as a partner or chances to see our sponsors links there. This is where we house the essential Conversation Project stuff. It's like how the gym is a rental spot for your gym equipment that you don't have space in your house. This is a spot for news issues that you might have forgotten about. Thank the wife, Christina with a K, for my beautiful cough button I have next to me now connected. So check us out at our website to find more details about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and where we're doing it as well. As I said earlier in the like, share, and subscribe section, links to various places that may be more amenable to you are there. If you're looking for quick, short news pieces, we have them on TikTok that we provide all day long. You can follow us there. If you are a Threads follower, which I'm not sure why, you can find out links there and see what's going on with those as well. You can always follow us on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Find links to our audio podcasts at various places, or go to Podpage and look for us there. And of course, our email newsletter, a link is right there for you to get in there. You can just get the links about 10 minutes or so after we produce the video. We'll send out the newsletter with all the links for you to get into like that. So check us out there as well. Consider being a partner. Consider checking out more sponsors. Consider helping a brother out doing things. Oh, you can also, if you're on YouTube, hit the join button for membership there. It's a lot simpler, easier, it's in the same sort of vein. And of course, a little secret, the tier prices are actually cheaper on YouTube. So there you go. That's there. So check us out on the YouTube, on the Facebook, on the X, on the Threads, on the TikTok, on the interwebs in podcast form, and of course, on the interwebs in your email box as a newsletter. With that, a very special episode, extremely long episode of things you might have heard for this Monday is in the books. Actually, it wasn't quite as long as I thought, but we are going to work some things. If you're new here, things were a little shaky today, so I apologize for that one. If you're not new here, things were a little long in some places where they got shaky, and you'll see a little less of that as we work things out. Playing around with the robot editor, trying to get a little bit better. I had some consulting with a person who is a better AI master than I am. And so we're working some AI issues, working some editing issues, and trying to make things a little bit better going forward. Plus, some of the tech issues we are working through here and there. We know sound has been kind of a weird, once I connected some new things and use some different venues, but we're working on that to make this there. This is mostly a one-man operation. I do have people who interject here, their friends, and some folks I can kind of consult here and there. But until this is the point where I do my big old crying eyeball thing, till I get more of a greater sense of sponsorship, that's i.e. resources and money, it's going to be a one-man operation. I can't afford a full-time producer, can't afford a full-time editor. It's just me early morning trying to avoid my day job to get things done. Thank you so much for all the folks who joined in here. Thank you so much for people who watched the weekend stuff. We gave all the props and love to the sponsors, to the partners on the weekend, which we do. And if you want to see more about the partners, go to our website and go to the partners page, and you can see what you get from that, on top of just knowing you're helping us out here in the process. With that, love you, mean it, stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the grand things that we need to get through for this full year and beyond, because life's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and getting through the next 4 years, although content will be more than abundant, it's going to be quite a headache as well. I'm done. Hopefully you're done for this, not done for day. Follow us in the feeds and look for the stories that are out there so you can help us vote up stories for tomorrow. 8 stories will be queued up for you to get into the groove for a Tuesday for things you might not have heard.